Morning, Dad.
Hey, going for a run?
Yeah, you should join me like you used to.
Not with my old knees and back.
Try Xanthicin. It could really help. Plus, it's super safe, Dad, and it's good for your heart and brain.
Xanthicin fights aging with astaxanthin, nature's most powerful antioxidant. And with 3 times the absorption and superior purity, it's the brand physicians trust. Find it at getxantho.com and these retailers. Keep doing what you love with Xanthicin.
All right, how's it going, everybody? We welcome you to another episode of Hawaii Football. Now, it's episode 47 as we roll on towards episode 50. We roll on towards the start of camp, which is like a week away, basically. Mountain West Media Days are coming up over the next couple of days as we record this Tuesday at about 3 p.m. Hawaii time. We'll release this on Thursday, July 21st. And Mountain West Media Days will have taken place. We'll have all kinds of reaction to that next week on episode 48. But we welcome you to Hawaii Football Now, presented by Xanthicin. A big mahalo to our other sponsors, Spectrum Mobile and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. We got special teams as a big theme of the show because we got Jordan Puu-Robinson coming up in the second half. A fun interview with him, University of Hawaii alum, now a special teams analyst on the staff, working under the firecracker that is special teams coordinator Thomas Sheffield. Those guys are working with the tight ends as well. Always fun to catch up with Puu, former teammate of Hunter's at the University of Hawaii. So if you're going to talk special teams, you're going to need some energy, and there's no better way to get fired up than through our guys over at Xanthicin.
That's exactly right. If you're trying to match that energy on the sideline, we've got a product for you. And it's called Xanthicin. You may have heard about this amazing supplement called astaxanthin. Doctors and pharmacists recommend it from everything from joint and muscle function to cholesterol health and cognitive function and even anti-aging. But did you know that only one brand delivers 3 times more astaxanthin to your body, making it a better buy than the competition? Introducing Xanthicin, available at getxantho.com, Newtown Square Pharmacy, Down to Earth Kaka'ako, GNC stores, and Pharmacare Hawaii. Learn more at getxantho.com.
All right, there we go. All right, opening drive out of the way, game time coming up. A whole bunch of new scheduling options for the University of Hawaii going forward as we find out a little bit more from the Mountain West. Big topic of conversation. I knew this was in the pipeline. I knew this was probably going to be our lead topic here on episode 47. But the new Mountain West scheduling format is out. Yep. We knew a few months ago that they were doing away, pretty much like every other conference, or most conferences, away with the divisional format. They're doing away with the Mountain and the West divisions, not this season, but next season, 2023. So 2022 will be the final year of the current setup. And basically the top 2 teams, regardless of division, those will be thrown out. Win percentage will get you into the championship game. Top 2 teams based on win percentage will get you to the Mountain West Conference title game starting in 2023. It's basically a 3-year window, and everybody's opponents were set, announced last week by the conference. Everybody has 2 locked opponents, basically, where you are paired up with 2 other teams, and so that trio will play each other every year of the window. And for Hawaii, that happens to be UNL and San Diego State. And then they will play everybody else. So you'll play all 11 teams in the conference, 11 other teams in the conference, at least twice in the 3-year window. It's kind of balanced for Hawaii, where you still see, maybe a couple of road trips to the Mountain Time Zone, hosting a couple of teams from the Mountain Time Zone, which of course is important. Those are more costly, pricier road trips, and those are also costlier stipends to teams coming in, right? Which we know that the university has to pay as part of the agreement here into the Mountain West. UNLV, SDSU, that's kind of the big news there. Those are the teams locked in. Those are the 2 teams Hawaii will play each of the 3 years. In 2023, the non-conference opponents are going to be for the University of Hawaii home games against San Diego State, a road game at UNLV. But the other 3 home games, Air Force, Colorado State out of the old Mountain Division, right? San Jose State is on the schedule. And then the road games are at Reno, at New Mexico, so a trip to Albuquerque, and then a trip to Wyoming. So a couple of trips into the Mountain Time Zone and trips to Albuquerque and Laramie. So
I
that's
love Laramie in December or November, whenever we're playing.
Right, which is funny because that's the way they ended last season, right? Even though it was like a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Laramie, and arguably the best wing of the season from the University of Hawaii, even including the home win against the Fresno State team. But they looked terrific in the what ended up being the final game of the Todd Graham era. So before we get into some of the opponents in 2024, 2025, what do you make, Hunter, of this new setup? We've discussed it a little bit, but now we kind of have a little more of a tangible picture to kind of put our eye toward now. And we know who the two locked-in opponents are: UNLV, which is a rivalry trophy, Island Trophy, and then San Diego State, which is basically the closest team in proximity to the University of Hawaii, even though it's quite a stone's throw away. The other big caveat, the other big thing sort of looming, the dark gray cloud, we have no idea what conferences will look like in 2 to 3 years.
Right.
San Diego State might be in the Pac-12 for all we know. Right. And so there is a little bit of a grain of salt that you have to take with all of this, because we're planning all the way out till it's 2025, which may as well be like a million years from now in college football timeline. But if everything sort of plays out according to plan, what do you think that, at least, Hunter, in terms of being the locked in opponents?
I like that word, grain of salt. I think we have to take a grain of salt with a lot of things with college football right now, specifically with Hawaii and our new Aloha Stadium. Taking all that with a grain of salt too, until we start breaking ground on that. It doesn't really feel real. We kind of talked about that in previous episodes, but getting back to this kind of schedule and formatting change with the Mountain West, we've talked about it before. The whole for no division right now is to situate the Mountain West as a group of 5 powerhouse, if you will, giving 1 or 2 teams the best likelihood of making a run at the college football playoff, with more teams joining these super conferences. Obviously, Big Ten is growing. The SEC is what it is. There's talk of the Big 12 joining with the Pac-12. Those teams eventually are going to kind of eat each other. It's just what's going to happen. So it gives us an opportunity where, if you take divisions out of it, maybe you give someone from the Mountain West a better chance at an undefeated season and a college football playoff berth. I understand the UNLV pick for us. I mean, it's the 9th island. We travel best to UNLV than any other school whenever we have away games. It's always fun going to Vegas. That's where they host Mountain West Media Day. To not have Fresno, Jordan, is such a bummer. Other than BYU, I mean, that is our goal. They don't like us. We don't like them, but we want them on our schedule every year. I mean, that's what makes college football fun, is the rivals. And I'm not going to lie, man, this is a bummer.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of funny. Where there's no official rivalry trophy, right? With Fresno State University. Some of them
matter. Others of them are like, who cares? Honestly, I'm going to tell it how it is.
Right. And so 2023 is kind of interesting because you actually have all 4 official rivalry trophy games, or games with an official rivalry trophy, on the schedule for the first time, I think, ever, if not in a long, long time. And that's Air Force. That's San Jose State, UNLV, and Wyoming, and they're all on the schedule in 2023.
We don't care about Wyoming. They don't care about us.
The Poniola Trophy, it was lost for a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a very cordial rivalry, I would say. Exactly. When it comes down to it, there is not nearly the level of vitriol that there is between Hawaii and Fresno State. They've played every year, the Bulldogs have, and the Rainbow Warriors, since 1991. It's been 31 years, basically 32 years.
91. That was when I was born.
Right. And so that's how long this goes back, and it'll be a rotating thing, is my understanding. And so your pod of 3, your 2 opponents in the next 3-year window, I think, change, if I'm not mistaken. And again, that we're talking about like 2026. So who knows what the makeup of everything will be. So yeah, from a University of Hawaii perspective, like, UNLV makes sense. I think it makes sense financially for both teams as well, because that is a huge travel game for the University of Hawaii, right? Where they they take a lot of fans on the road. It's home in 2023 for UNLV, home for Hawaii in 2024, and then in 2025 it's another trip to Vegas.
Yep.
And I'm going to be honest, I think if you asked Hawaii fans, would you rather play a UNLV twice at home or twice on the road? I'm going to guess they're going to want twice on the road.
Oh yeah.
So that's the big desirable road trip there,
And
right?
the players would probably say that too, man. To play at Allegiant twice, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And the crowd, it's a pro Hawaii crowd, right? That's the other thing. It's like, hey, yeah, it's a road game, but you get to play in an NFL stadium,
Yeah.
and you get to play not in a a disadvantageous crowd environment.
That's exactly right.
More often than not, that's good. And maybe UNLV turns it around, and in the next 3-4 years, they really up their game, and all of a sudden they're a huge draw or something.
But even that, there's really no venom. Like when we play UNLV, it's like, all right, cool. Like we're playing UNLV, we're in Vegas. That's a cool venue, but we don't hate those guys, and they don't really hate us. It's kind of like what you said, it's a cordial sort of a situation.
Yeah, and then San Diego State, right? Usually competitive game.
Yeah.
But it has been a fun rivalry. Even San Jose State honestly would be even more, with the Cordero transfer, with the whoever's running their Twitter account.
Oh my
Like
gosh, right.
Right. So there's even a little bit more there.
Exactly.
I wouldn't say, I think it's been somewhat good natured, but I would say there's even a little bit more there. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, because even if you extrapolate and you look beyond just the University of Hawaii, but for Boise, like their locked opponents are New Mexico and Utah State.
Yeah, that's
like, I don't know if that really excites anybody in
Jordan,
Boise, right?
Has it come out who was on this selection committee?
Yeah, it was a subcommittee of athletic directors, I believe. I don't know exactly who was on the subcommittee athletic directors. In the Spectrum News article, Brian McInnes writing his recap of all of this. He had some quotes from UH athletic director David Matlin, who basically said that the process was good. He was happy with UNLV and SDSU as locked opponents. One thing I will say about UNLV, those should be wins for Hawaii. But I think, it's kind of interesting. He got quotes from Rich Miano as well, Spectrum Sports Analyst.
Yeah.
Those are great destinations for Hawaii fans, right? San Diego and Vegas. But he pointed out as well, without Fresno being regularly on the schedule, that's a big bummer. I think that's an absolute bummer. Obviously Reno and Nevada are paired up, but there aren't any other, I would say, like real strong. I mean, there's Air Force, Colorado State, they're paired up. You've got Fresno and San Jose State as paired up to, Cal State schools and whatnot. But there aren't any real strong, I think, strong rivalries or strong historical ties. Like, yeah, sure, these teams have been playing with each other. Obviously, the Fremont County game, Vegas and Reno, that's big. I agree. They should play that every year.
Totally.
But outside of that, like, I don't know if you can make a strong argument that Fresno, Hawaii shouldn't be at a fairly high up the list in terms of games that should be played every year.
I agree. I mean, you just ran through the list. I can't think of that many other than interstate stuff, Air Force playing Colorado State. You mentioned Reno playing UNLV. It's kind of, Bedlam, if you will, Oklahoma State, that kind of a vibe. But I can't think of that many, blood coursing rivalries inside the Mountain West. And if I can think of one, obviously you and I are a little biased here, but Hawaii Fresno's got to be, if not number one, definitely 2 or 3. If we're, getting into the nitty gritty of it. I mean, it's kind of a bummer that it's not a forever thing. And of those 3 years, did we play them twice? So
yeah, that's correct.
I mean, 2 out of 3 isn't horrible. Obviously, we would like 3 out of 3, but yeah, it's ending the length of my lifetime, 31 years in September, of this rivalry. However, I want to be devil's advocate here, Jordan. We could see them in the Mountain West Championship game.
There you go. That's true. This is true, right? Because now the divisions are out the window. And if you're the top two teams based on win percentage, and I guess that's the other kind of curious thing. Does this help the Mountain West one, help Hawaii?
Yeah.
On top of that as well, right? Because everything's now driven by money. Everything's driven by trying to chase the playoff, which ultimately results in more money.
Yep.
Which, look, you're doing everything you can to survive in the landscape, but it does now, in the same way that, USC and UCLA are going to play in the Big Ten, in the same way that Texas and Texas A&M haven't played in like a decade, which is insane, right? West Virginia and Pitt don't play each other anymore.
I grew
like
up
all of these
in Chicago watching Notre Dame play Michigan every year. That was a big one.
Yeah. And it doesn't happen quite as the frequency,
right,
because Notre Dame's got that sort of pseudo deal with the ACC, right? With some guaranteed games there that obviously eats up some of their schedule and the rest of their sports. But it's just kind of a bummer that all of these things just get decided because of external factors, right? It's like I thought the divisional setup in the Mountain West worked great geographically. I thought for Hawaii it worked out really well, right? California, Nevada schools, pretty easy to get to for the most part. You only have to venture into the mountain every so often, maybe a couple of road trips a year. They come here. The mountain division has a few more of the outposts, if you will, right? At Laramie, Fort Collins, some places that aren't direct flights, like San Diego or San Jose or Las Vegas. And I get it, Fresno and Reno, a little harder to get to, but for the most part, not too difficult. And that was a pretty good setup for Hawaii, but it's just kind of more of the same. It's that same kind of bummer of a feeling, I think, that I felt when the whole UCLA, USC news came out. It's just more of the same, where it's like, the tradition, the history, like none of that matters, because if it doesn't help the bottom line, then it's expendable. And so Hawaii, Fresno State, who have been on each other's schedule since 91, some of the biggest games,
Totally.
in Hawaii history, right? Whether it's Rolo Tulele in the corner on a Friday afternoon on ESPN as people are like fighting traffic to get to Aloha Stadium, or the Wani Moala like blocked field goal, right? In the Norm era, which I know didn't necessarily have this kind of the same ramifications overall, but like those are the moments, the legend of the screwdriver, right? Like all this stuff, like it's and again, like you pointed, it's a good point by you. They still play 2 out of every years. So the one nice thing is you'll see the mountain opponents a little more frequently, perhaps. But I don't love it. I don't know if it really helps Hawaii get into the Mountain West Championship game. The Mountain has been a little better, I would say, overall. But the West maybe has
on the West.
But the West has, I would agree, the West a little more depth to it, where you see a little more turnover. Fresno, San Jose, Hawaii, San Diego State, right? There's been a little bit more of a rotation at the top, whereas the Mountain has more or less been Boise, and then Utah State kind of sprinkled in there the other year, some of that. But I don't know if it helps out UH all that much. And then I also don't know if it necessarily helps the conference, because like is Boise and Fresno, some of the historical teams that are the quality teams, right? Which you would want to play each other, and look, the idea is they play at the end, but Boise in subsequent years, they're not playing Fresno every year, or they're not playing San Diego every year, where you would think that's what they would want on the schedule, because it's just going to raise the resume of your schedule, where you're playing the toughest teams year in and year out, or if they're just trying to really get to, close to undefeated teams in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. Maybe that's the idea, but I don't know if it'll necessarily work out that way.
Yeah, I wonder if it has anything to do with the 2 ranked teams last year were both on the West side, amidst other reasons, but you put this new rule in place, and San Diego and Fresno don't necessarily have to play each other every year. Or are they each other's, are they in each other's 2?
No, they're San Diego and Fresno. Sorry, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. San Diego.
No, San Diego's with Hawaii, so it's Hawaii and UNLV.
That's right.
And then Fresno's with San Jose and New Mexico. You know, so it's like, hey, that doesn't excite anybody.
Yeah,
I think,
but,
and so it's just kind of. Sorry, go ahead, Hunter.
No, you're good. I was just saying what's happened with San Jose with us. We're really only one Twitter war away from having a new rivalry. So who knows what could go down in the coming years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, right? It'll be, I mean, it's kind of there, with, and again, it's been for more or less in good nature. Mm-hmm. But again, Hawaii's starting quarterback decided to transfer in conference, is going to represent San Jose State and Mountain West Media Days. I'm sure that'll make for a fun little reunion with Hawaii's representatives, right? Which is Panay Pavihi's going up. Yeah, and sorry, who's you probably remember this, Hunter? Who's the offensive representative?
Micah Vanderpool.
Micah Vanderpool, yeah.
They had him on the show, and then Panay Pavihi.
That's right. That's right. So they're going up. So that'll make for a fun, little conversation, I'm sure. But there's a little rivalry there, right? So yeah, I just think these things, and again, we'll have a whole lot more next week for Mountain West Media Days in reaction to that. But it just, as these conferences grow and grow, and 12 was kind of the magic number for all to have a conference championship game because you needed 12. That's gone out the window with the Big 10 or the Big 12 going down to 10 teams and all this kind of stuff. But as these conferences grow and grow, there's no way you can play everybody every year. And so then you end up with either divisions or you got to come up with some sort of creative sketch. So that's like the whole point of these mega conferences to me. It doesn't really work out where it's like, oh yeah, this is a great conference. Yeah, no, it's not really a conference. It's just a conglomeration of teams that not everybody can play everybody. Then you got to get gimmicky either with the old school, which is just creative, or you got to get gimmicky with these, we're going to play 3-team pods and then we're going to play everybody else home and home over 3 years and all this kind of stuff. It's like, I don't know. Then it's not, it's not a true conference. You're not playing everybody. You're getting gimmicky in how you get to the championship game. It's not a true division or anything like that. The schedules are still unbalanced. Yeah. It's not like they're power ranking where it's like, hey, the top teams from last year are going to play each other. They're already presets. It's just more and more where it's like, these are all the things that just come as collateral damage to the evolution of the sport, which to me hasn't been for the better. But maybe that's just me being the old guy here. Only slightly older than the UH Fresno State consecutive year that will come to an end in 2023. So at least we know the opponents. We basically know the schedules, right, for the next few years with the non-conference opponents already lined up for the University of Hawaii. But again, the huge caveat, like next year it's Stanford, Oregon, Vanderbilt. Like who knows what the conferences will look like, right? So it's all over the place, but we at least know what the tentative schedules are going forward. So that's kind of the big news there. And again, we've got Jordan Puu-Robinson coming up in the second half of this episode. We can maybe get his take on some of these things. Well, I'm going to imagine from a coach's standpoint, it's kind of like, look, just let us know who we're playing. We'll figure it out. We'll game plan as we go through, right? They don't get involved in the politicking quite as much. But any final thoughts on this, Hunter, before we kind of wrap up the first half here on this episode?
Yeah. It's definitely going to be different, but different isn't always bad. It's how many years now have we been in the Mountain West as opposed, to what we had in the WAC? I'm sure very similar sentiments were felt whenever the WAC, fell apart, and now we're in this thing called the Mountain West. What's that going to look like? We've still yet to establish ourselves as premier or elite in our conference. So to me, that is still the objective. That is the main focus moving forward, regardless of where we're at. We have to own where we're at, that needs to be our focus moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't know if it necessarily gets any truly easier or more difficult with this new setup. It's just different, I think, for Hawaii. And I think, as you point out very astutely, the goal is still the same, I think, for this program. And it'll be interesting to see how this format plays out You get 2 trips to Vegas over the next 3 years, folks, which, to be fair, was the same exact thing that would have, it's just every other year with the old setup. So, but at least that's one thing that remains intact with the new setup. One last quick topic before we hit the halftime here and get to our interview with Jordan Puu-Robinson. One cool thing over the weekend, UH Alumni Ohana Day that the coaching staff and others had put on. They had a potluck at Magic Island. I saw a great turnout. There's some coverage on the ESPN Honolulu social media and YouTube and Facebook. You could check that out. But really cool. I mean, it's just, kind of more of the same with this coaching staff, that they're doing everything that they can to be out in the community, to have reach out to alums to get them back involved in the program, have them rise. I saw guys that were out there, right? I saw Limoy, Tua, all kinds of guys who were out there, which I thought was just terrific. And the other thing that I thought was really cool was at the beach. Like, it wasn't in some private venue. It wasn't at some like event hall stop. Like, it was out at the public beach where people could just wander over and talk story with the guys, even if you didn't play, like, you could kind of be a part of it. Like, I just thought it was really cool. I just wanted to kind of mention that before we hit the halftime.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. John Veneri invited me down. I would have gone if I didn't have something else to go to, but yeah, really cool. And I think that's what makes Hawaii special, is not just the alumni connection, but our connection to the fans. We're not high dogging, the fans or anything like that. I've heard just friends that have gone to other schools, Peyton Manning will come through, or, the celebrities of, I'm mainly speaking of University of D, and they can't quite get to their alumni and share that embrace, that what they offered this past Saturday at Alumni Day is pretty cool. Really, really awesome.
I just, it's one of those things that it's a feel good story and a feel good event. And I think it's just so genuine. Like, I just saw that and I thought that's pretty cool. And not just to put it on, but to put it on at the beach. Yeah. Like, that's just like super Hawaii style, super local style. And I just love it. And seeing the turnout. And again, you can check out some of the coverage on our ESPN Honolulu outlets at that as well. So we take a quick break here, and then Jordan Puu-Robinson coming up in the second half. It should be fun to talk to him. He's a guy who's been through the program as a player, now back as an assistant coach, or at least on the coaching staff. Was there with the Todd Graham staff, and now his transition over to Timmy Chang. So he's got a lot of perspective. Local boy from Maui as well. So a lot of ties there, and excited to talk to him coming up in the second half. But want to remind you, Hawaii Football Now is brought to you by Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. As Hawaii's largest credit union, they are committed to serving individuals and businesses through its 14 branch locations statewide, as well as their convenient digital banking services. As a leader in providing support for the islands, Hawaii USA is committed to strengthening Hawaii's financial wellness and sharing successes with members, local businesses, and the greater community. Visit HawaiiUSAFCU.com.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, second half here on episode 47. We got an interview with our guy, JPR, Jordan Puu-Robinson, former University of Hawaii defensive lineman, tight end. He's played all over the place. Former Kamehameha Maui and Baldwin product, local boy who started his career over at Washington State, ended up transferring home, finished up his career at the University of Hawaii, got his coaching start over at Mercer in the FCS, came back home last season, was on the staff for Todd Graham at the University of Hawaii. He's a holdover under Timmy Chang, a fun guy to talk to. Always very eloquent is JPR in his conversations. And without further ado, let's get to our interview and our conversation with Jordan Puu-Robinson, Special Teams Analyst for the University of Hawaii. All right, here we are, second half now in our interview with Special Teams Analyst Jordan Puu-Robinson, alum of the program, now back on the coaching staff. So he's got a good perspective and good insight into everything that's gone on here over the last, I don't know how many years now, Puu, as you've been kind of associated with this program. I know a little time getting your coaching teeth cut over at Mercer after your playing days before you made your way back home here. I guess, just how are things going, man? I know you guys are gearing up. Every time I check the calendar, it's like, oh man, the camp's starting here real soon.
Yeah, everything's going good. We start camp in about a week and getting ready for the go grind, and everything's been great. Obviously new coaching staff, a lot of new players. It's going to be a very new program, I think, here at the University of Hawaii. But I'm excited. I think the energy has been really good. The players have bought in. The coaching staff's getting along really well, and the community support's just been awesome. So everything's been going really well.
No, that's great. What's kind of been the overall message with Coach Timmy Chang taking over for the rest of the staff as you guys have made your way through this offseason, and now a lot of the work that the foundation that you guys have laid is now it's kind of go time here pretty soon. But what's kind of been the main message from the top, if you will?
Well, I think it starts off with the brotherhood, us being brother and being a family. And he always emphasizes that this program is about the people. You know what I mean? The people come first, and anywhere from the fans to our players and us as coaches as well. It's all about the people, and that's our emphasis here.
That's so cool, man. And for us alumni, that are out in the community, and we get wind of the brotherhood and see yourself, Coach Timmy, out in the community doing stuff like the alumni get together this past weekend. I want to come back and play in it, man. I mean, It just looks like if you could ever epitomize what playing at Hawaii is like, I feel like that's what this message and this thing is. Would you agree with that, Jordan?
Yeah, 100% I would agree. Obviously, Coach Chang, being a local boy playing here, he understands how unique and how special this place is. It's very any job in the country, and he brought a lot of guys on staff who are former players or Hawaii ties, and the guys who have no affiliation with the program on staff, they just really embrace this place, and they've learned to love it, and it's just been awesome. It really has been.
That's cool, man. For our listeners at home, I think Jordan Helle and myself were both teammates with you, because you guys were teammates in high school, weren't you?
No. This is always my big point of contention, Hunter. I'm glad you brought this stuff. So
Pooh boy blowing Hawaii facts over here.
No. So Pooh's 1 year younger than I. He is a fellow Baldwin graduate. I'm glad we've got another Baldwin guy on the show. Okay. We've had like St. Louis guys. We've had we've run the thing, and we love them all. We love Yoro. We love everybody else. But I'm glad we got another public school guy on here. But so Pooh came 1 year after I left. He started his career over at Kamehameha Maui, and the year after I graduated, I was like, we couldn't figure it out. It was like a whole rule change, and we won't get into that.
Yeah.
But Jordan can give you his perspective. But they came 1 year after I left, Hunter.
That's right.
And I've been bitter about it ever since, because if Jordan and a few of his other guys had come, if it had worked out a year sooner, man, we would have been so much better.
Man,
I would have been a really stacked team. Definitely. Yes.
Josh Tolfi was another one, by the way.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Hunter, so we would have made the concerts would have sold out. Teams would have been really good. Like it would have worked out. But no, if you can't tell, it's been like 15 years, and I'm just still bitter. But anyway,
by the time I was teammates with Pooh, he actually was on the offensive side and was one of my tight ends that I actually got to throw to. And so yeah, man, with this new role with special teams, man, I know you're more comfortable definitely on the defensive side. What's that been like taking on something like special teams? Because it's so diverse. You're incorporating people from both sides of the field, and you really got to stay woke all the time. Just kind of for our listeners at home, what's that been like for you?
It's been really good. I'm very appreciative of Coach Chang and Coach Sheffield giving me the opportunity to work on special teams. At Mercer, my first year, I was involved in special teams, but just a little bit. I was mainly on the defensive side, but I think special teams is just the epitome of football. Obviously, blocking, tackling, angles, leverage, high-speed collisions, and, it's a huge momentum changer for the game. So I really enjoyed that part of it. And you also get to work with all different kind of positions on special teams, not just one position group, but you can coach offense and defensive skills, big skills, and linemen on both sides. So it's been really cool to just kind of have your hands around the whole team and coach all different players.
Yeah, I would imagine, having connection with basically every position group, that's a little unique. And in college, the rosters are so big, and position coaches have so much responsibility with their position group. Obviously, at times, there's not a whole lot of interaction, between the offensive line coach and like a DB or something like that.
Correct.
But you really got to know everybody.
Yes.
And so that's I would imagine you got a pretty good pulse of the entire roster.
Yes, definitely. It's been great, adjusting to that new position this summer and just kind of getting to know the kids a little bit more. So focus on the D line and that group last season. So just being able to mingle with all the other positions. And I'm also going to help with tight ends as well, because Coach Sheffield's a tight ends coach too. So nice to just, kind of learn special teams on offense now in my career. It's going to be a real good learning experience.
Man, if nothing else, it gets me excited that we've returned some attention to special teams. In the past couple of years, we didn't even have a special teams coach. And I mean, Pu'u, our good friend Scott Hardy, one of the best punters and overall special teams guys in the history of Hawaii. Yeah. We know firsthand how important special teams is to our program. And so it's just for an alumni, for fans, me and Jordan, I think we speak for everyone that we're so thankful that we're giving attention to something that is so important for the overall program. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree. So I'm really happy that Coach Chang, brought in Coach Sheffield, a guy who's been around special teams, most of his career. And I love his philosophy. He gives these players a lot of tools and fundamentals to work, but he's not very complex in scheme, but he is aggressive at the same time. But I think he does a good job with just giving these guys great technique and fundamentals, a good toolbox to use, and that translates onto the field. So I'm very excited, and excited special teams is going to be back in Hawaii now. So,
man.
Yes.
Yeah, and you mentioned Coach Sheffield. You got to tell us about that dude, because he's a different cat.
Yes.
And every team, every staff needs somebody, I would say, like Coach Sheffield. Yeah. But you work with him about as closely as anybody else on that staff.
Yes.
What is that roller coaster ride like?
I love that guy. He has a passion for this game, this university, and the kids. And he's a confident guy. I don't think he cares what people thinks about him. And he's a go-getter. He's bold, and he's very bold. And I like that about him. And he kind of fits the mold of those special teams guys, because most of them are usually a little off.
They're crazy. Special teams you have to be off their knocker, man. I don't know what Coach Debo for us, man, was crazy.
Yeah, he was another one. So I think his personality fits in perfect to what special teams coordinator should be. And I've been enjoying working for him so far.
Yeah, and I mean that in the most complimentary way. Like it really seems like he's the perfect guy for that. You can see why he was like one of the first guys that Timmy, I think, brought along with him. And the importance of that. And so, and you guys know this, you guys have already brought up, Scott Harding, but this sort of tradition of special teams excellence at the University of Hawaii, right? In the return game, whether it was Jad Owens or guys like Devon Best, right? Or kickers, Jason Elam and Matt McBriar as punters, guys that have played in the league for a long time. Matt Shipley was outstanding last year as a place kicker and a punter. Kyler Halverson's got a bazooka for a leg and did terrific on kickoffs. We saw some of the return game pickup late last season, with some fresh faces out there. But there seems to be a good amount of talent coming back for this special teams unit to make a leap. But kind of curious from your standpoint, where you've seen kind of the progression in some of these different units on the special team side.
Yeah, yes, I would agree. To start off with the specialists, I really like that group. Obviously you got guys who have done well in this conference and, more on the experience side. And, I think the University of Hawaii, as long as I can remember, they've always had so many good special teams players, guys that are, a lot of times local kids too, guys that are fearless and will hit anybody. And I think this team, really epitomizes, what you want. Guys are going to fly around and knock heads off and get the job done.
Yeah, it's I think those are the guys too that become fan favorites, right? The Chad Kapanuis, or the guys that, as you point out, are willing to just run with their hair on fire with a little bit of reckless abandon. On that note, with local guys, I was kind of curious to get your perspective, especially on this, Jordan, as a guy who started his career at Washington State, Power 5 school, and then transferring home, finishing up your career at Hawaii. So you got experience, at different schools, different conferences. different levels, if you will. Now with the transfer portal and just how easy, I guess it would be, for lack of a better term, it is to move schools, to find your way home, especially for local kids. You know, what kind of, from your perspective, has that kind of influenced you as a coach, as a recruiter, in terms of, you know, the messaging to a lot of these kids who maybe are looking at Hawaii, not necessarily coming out of high school, but now as a second chance destination or a fresh start opportunity, especially for local kids who maybe went away and are now finding their way home, like we've seen, you know, a handful of guys now coming in under this new coaching staff via the portal.
Yeah, definitely. To start off, I think Coach Chang has really done a good job emphasizing recruiting the local kids right now. He's done a great job, you know, going out to all the schools and really pushing to get local guys on this team. I think this program, the foundation of this team, I think it's always, you know, been Hawaii players or Polynesian players, you know what I mean? So, and then obviously we've had a lot of, you know, guys who have left and come back as well. So it's always good to keep those relationships and have those connections too.
Hey, Pooh, we kind of wanted to get your insight. This is the first coach that we're talking to since the new, don't want to say rule change, but the adjustments to the Mountain West that was kind of announced last week. And now we don't have divisions in the Mountain West any longer. And that brings forth all kinds of stuff with the elimination of our rivalry with Fresno. Maybe not the rivalry, just the year in, year out playing with them. What are you guys feeling as a staff? You know, does that, you know, propose challenges? Does that propose advantages for you guys? Like, how are you feeling about that right now? Because it's kind of new.
Yeah, you know, to be honest, I don't think we focus too much on it right now because that comes into next season, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So I wouldn't talked about it too much, but obviously, I believe the rule is that the top two records will go to the championship now. So it's just a matter of you have to be the top two teams in the conference now, not just in your division. So it makes it a lot more competitive, in my opinion. You know what I mean? But in terms of the restructure, I'm not too sure about all the details, but I know that winning games, especially in conference games, are more important than ever to get to the championship game.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. The emphasis of in-conference games, you know, you can't kind of fall back on your divisional record or something like that. That is going to be interesting. We were kind of curious, you know, we were talking about this before we got you on, but yeah, from a coach's perspective, it's kind of like, you know, tell us who we're playing and we'll figure it out. Yeah. And obviously this season you guys have some really cool opportunities. You got an SEC team coming to town. You got a good Western Kentucky program coming in as well. And then the trip to the Big House, obviously. Yes. You know, with that on now, the pretty near horizon, you know, is that something that's talked about amongst the group, amongst the players? Is, so, you know, some of these opportunities, you know, an SEC school at home, going to the Big House, playing Michigan on the road, like, you know, what are those some of the conversations, some of the motivating factors as you guys get ready for this season?
Yeah, I think, you know, anytime you get to play, you know, an SEC team, or you get to, you know, go to such a legendary place like the Big House, I think it helps with recruiting, honestly, first and foremost, because when you have these big time programs on your schedule, I think you're coming from a G5 school, you're giving these kids an opportunity to kind of get that Power 5, you know, big experience. So I think it's critical for recruiting, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. It's almost kind of a flex on, we played in the Big House, we played against this guy. I mean, I still talk. Whenever you talk to RJ Hollis, he'll tell you firsthand he lined up against Joey Bosa. That's the first thing out of his mouth when we played Ohio State. So it's bigger than just going up there and beating those guys. It's having Michael Jordan on the sideline, which he was when we went to the Big House last time. Playing against Harbaugh in those stupid khaki pants, you know, it's more than just playing a big opponent. And for the local kids that choose to stay home, I love, and I'm sure you do too, opportunities like that for them where they do get the bigger kind of experience of college football. Man, Jordan, just jump in and kind of dream with us for a second, because I feel right now with this BRADDAHHOOD mantra, and we're kind of seeing it with top tier recruits around the country, mainly with Polynesian ties, that we can compete with anybody in the country with getting premier talent here if we do this thing correctly. I mean, do you guys feel the same way in that coaching staff?
Yeah, I think definitely if all the best local players were to stay home, you have probably a top 25 team consistently. So it's just a matter of trying to recruit those boys hard and, really sell the people and, love having this program and go from there. But yeah, I agree, definitely.
And I think, you guys, it seems like this coaching staff in particular has a really nice balance of guys like yourself, Coach Yoro, guys who ties here, and then guys who have played here like yourself, like Nate, Chris Brown, obviously, who fits that bill as well, local guy who played high school here and then played collegiately, and then, a mix of coaches who have some ties, but maybe aren't from here, maybe haven't played here before. But it really does seem that, the first thing that you mentioned when we started this interview was the BRADDAHHOOD. And I think that's a nice way to kind of end this as well. It seems like that messaging, that, that identity has resonated. I think it's been received by the public. People I run into and just at the grocery store or at the gym or whatever, it's they want to talk about Hawaii football. They want to talk about Timmy Chang. They want to talk about some of these kids. It seems like it is taking hold. It seems like it's also taking hold with some of the recruits, with some of these kids committing early, that still have their senior seasons to go locally as well as from the mainland. And I know those aren't guys that you can't necessarily talk about directly, but it seems like that message has been received. And I'm just kind of curious from the other end of the communication, if you will, from your guys' standpoint as a coaching staff, have you felt that as well? Has it seemed like some of that groundwork has been laid where it's like, okay, yeah, I think, people are picking up a little bit of what we're putting down.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it starts with Coach Chang and his vision for the program, and just being a guy who's, played here and from the islands and understanding, what the BRADDAHHOOD is around here and how special that is. And, this place just is like no other. You have half of the kids are, local or Polynesian. So it's more than just, a university. I think it's somewhat a culture and an identity of what Hawaii really is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we're stoked that you are a big part of that. You're right in the middle of things. We'll make sure Hunter doesn't bother you too much during the games when he's working the sideline for the radio broadcast and asking you for insight there down at Ching, but no guarantees. Pooh, we really appreciate it, man. I am stoked for all of your success. We know the work that you've put in, and really excited for you and what's in store for the future as well. Thanks a lot for jumping on, and we'll probably bother you again as the season goes on. We'll try and get you on the pod once again. It only took us 47 episodes, but I promise you it won't take that many more to get you back on.
All right, boys. Thank you so much, Jordan, Hunter. It's been a pleasure.
Always, man.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, a big mahalo to Jordan for jumping on with us. We had a couple of Baldwin grads. We had a couple of guys named Jordan in that little interview there. Still fired up that I never got to play with him in high school because of rules and all these kinds of things. Not bitter about it at all, like 15 years later. But always fun, a guy that I know you know well, Hunter, and big mahalos to Pu'u. And fun talking story with him. He's a rising star. He's got a bright future in the coaching game for many years to come.
Oh yeah. Some people like NPR, but we're big fans of JPR on this show.
That's right.
That's right. For those listening at home, he will be the very large, very loud, exciting guy on the sideline, getting everybody locked in for special teams. Chances are he'll have some cleats on too. He likes us locked in. And yeah, nothing but love for Pu'u. And man, we're only a week away from camp, Jordan. We've
I know we're barreling. We're really barreling towards the start of the season. It is crazy. We have spent so much time talking about hypotheticals and intangibles over the off season, but we're gonna be talking real football here real soon, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And we got to get JPR on again soon. Special teams. I'm excited to see what that unit has in store. And what kind of, mentality they're playing with. As he pointed out, Coach Sheffield, nothing complex, but play fast, right? It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of great comments on Facebook, YouTube. We promise we'll get to a little bit more of that next week as well. A lot of comments on the scheduling coming up with the announcement by the Mountain West stadium conversation. That seems to be a topic that a lot of people have strong opinions about, and we welcome those. And feel free to drop us a line as well on this week's episode once it gets posted, Facebook, YouTube, our social media accounts as well. But we wanted to close it out with a little overtime here. And our overtime going to focus back on Coach Thomas Sheffield, because our producer Jaron was down at Holomua Tattoo. Aaron Kia is one of the artists down there. Of course, everybody remembers Aaron. Just a behemoth of a dude. Former offensive lineman at the University of Hawaii, an 09 graduate. Really, really talented guy, and does incredible work in tattooing. But Coach Sheffield went down there, got BRADDAHHOOD tatted on like the outside of his forearm. If I'm not mistaken, the O's in BRADDAHHOOD are like the O's. So BRADDAHHOOD, it's like the UH font, right? With the top of trim, that. And then the O's have the ZOA O logo, like the energy drink that he absolutely reps 100%. Which is the Rocks energy drink, I guess. And if I'm not mistaken, the O's in BRADDAHHOOD are match the O from the ZOA cans, the logo. So my man is all in. Coach Sheffield, it's funny. We already, you've listened to our conversation with JPR here in talking about it, but he's like the perfect special teams coach, right? He's got the mentality, he's got the energy, which is just endless, which is incredible. But he went out there. He got BRADDAHHOOD's a real thing, and it's on his arm. It's going to be there. I'm sure whenever, all the TV broadcasts will have a little something on it. And if you are interested in learning a little bit more, you can check out our platforms, YouTube, Facebook, again, all the social media. Jaron's got it posted up there. A little insight. He shares a little bit of his thought process behind it all. But the very, very on brand, I would say. He's got the BRADDAHHOOD tattoo, which is like one of only two. You can check it out. Again, a little backstory there. The other one is ride or die with flames on his chest, and that's kind of his thing, right? He's all in. It's like we're all going. You've seen some of the videos of him addressing the team in the meeting room when the coaching staff first took over. Like it kind of fits.
He's gonna be the guy in Laramie in November with his shirt off.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's way too warm for him.
Oh yeah. And
he's unfazed. I think it's great. Like it's awesome, man. And
it is.
He's like the perfect compliment to Coach Timmy.
Oh, totally. And as a player, you love playing for guys like that. Just he gets everyone riled up, for the dog days of camp. It gets boring. It gets just long, and you're tired. And then in walks this firecracker to light a fire under everybody's butt. I mean, that's what you look for in a special teams coach. He's awesome. Yeah,
he really is. And that's the thing. I think for folks that have played the game, right, like any level, like Pop Warner to professional, there is an irrational element of football. Like it takes a little something where you need to kind of convince yourself, whether naturally or via a coach or something, that it is sane to go ahead and run around, throw your body on the line like that and just hit people. Like it's not for everybody. And it's not for everybody every day either. And the grind of football and the practices and camp and getting through everything, like you need guys who are irrational, and not necessarily like irrational in their decision-making or anything like that, but just irrational in their enthusiasm, irrational in their energy, in their motivation. And if you got a roster of 100 something guys, like not everybody's wired like that. But if one of your coaches is, and he brings that every day, or a couple of guys on the team are, and they bring that every day, like it's infectious. It carries over. And every good team's got a couple of those guys, whether it's coaches or players. Like you need the guys that are a little nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm glad Coach Sheffield is on our side.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's a great point. You don't want to give him an excuse to turn that rage in your direction. So I know if anything else, it just
That's true too.
Guys awake and then, all right, hey, do whatever you can.
You gotta be locked in. You gotta be locked in. Yep.
Yeah,
no doubt, no doubt. Hey Hunter, this has been a lot of fun. Was really cool getting Jordan Puu-Robinson on as well. Big thanks to Jaron for securing that. Big thanks to you, Hunter, for coordinating as well. And we've got a lot to talk about going forward. We got Mountain West Media Days next week. We got camp starting. We got position battles ongoing, a quarterback competition on our hands. There is a whole lot. And about 5 weeks out, 5.5 weeks out from the start of the season, with Vanderbilt coming to town on August 27th. Big mahalo to our sponsors, Spectrum Mobile, Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, as well as our presenting sponsor, Xanthison, as well as everybody who's tuning in every week. Love talking story with everybody, getting some feedback, getting your thoughts, whether it's via the comments, whether it's running into people at the airport, whatever it is. Running into people in Vegas when I was up there, like people want to talk away football. Oh, yeah. And we're the couple of lucky guys that kind of get to do this on a weekly basis, where they stick a microphone in front of us and thankfully have given us this platform. So it's a lot of fun. Big thanks to JPR again. And we'll see everybody next week. Episode 48 coming your way as we get closer and closer to the start of camp. Thanks, everybody. Aloha.
You've been listening to Hawaii Football Now with Jordan Helle and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.